So well done, everyone. We are into our last session of the day, and we'll follow that by a final Q&A session. So well done with sticking with us for 3 days. I know an online course can be quite challenging to keep engaged, so well done. So we have been talking, as you know, we set the scene on day one about some of the challenges involved in writing a really compelling research application. We talked about some of the rigid templates with page limits and word counts, getting the right information in the right place. We've talked about the different kind of people who will be reviewing your application and how you need to be able to communicate and engage and convince all of those, whether they're specialists, non-specialists, the real detail readers, and your speed readers. And we've talked about the fact that they need clear pointers, they need relevant information and no waffle, and how you're going to justify and have your rationale and your arguments that will appeal to a funder and not necessarily to your discipline alone. And we talked about getting in the right amount of detail so that a reviewer can assess quality and feasibility. And something that will help with all of these once you have lovingly crafted your application is essentially getting someone else to look at it and take a view and see if you've got those things right. And so the kinds of people you might go to are people who are experts in your field, and they will be really good for helping you sense check the background and design of your study and really checking that you've got that science at a really high quality and really well explained. They might help to prevent criticism from the detailed peer reviewers and other subject specialists. However, they might be a bit less useful in assessing the proposal from a broad funding panel perspective. So as we've already outlined, funding panels do like applications that are easy for non-specialists to understand. They're easy for non-specialists to speed read. And I know we talked about that and the amount of time that reviewers do spend looking at your application. And they will try and do a really good job. But that may mean picking out some of the details that are particularly pertinent to what they are, sort of their area of expertise and what they're reviewing. And this will need to be a convincing piece of writing to convince a critical but busy non-specialist. So why you can't just depend on yourself or your immediate colleagues to keep coming back and looking at this, partly for the reasons we've said. They're experts in your area, they understand it, they know what all those acronyms mean, they know the context that you're working in. They're all enthusiastic about the area, that is why they're there themselves. They may well be happy to spend time reading your application. But they might not understand the wider funding process if they haven't been involved with it themselves. They might not wish to hurt feelings, especially if they're going to have to face you the next day in the office corridor. And they might just be too busy to provide really good constructive feedback. So this is where other sources might be useful for a general review. So other academic colleagues that are outside of your discipline, and you might within your institution have mechanisms for getting those kind of peer reviews. Colleagues who sit on funding panels are always worth knowing, and they are great for reviewing your application and for getting general hints and tips from. People who review for the scheme and colleagues who've had prior success with the scheme can also be incredibly helpful. And for NIHR and other funders, absolutely crucial, patient and public involvement representatives. But this is also where the research support service comes in and where we can help you. So we're saying very much that we can help you with your reviews and look at your work. And some of the other things that we can help you with more broadly are thinking about sources of funding, whether that is specifically NIHR and helping you find your way around some of those funding schemes, but perhaps a bit broader as well. Identifying and refining your research questions, designing your study, thinking about all those different methods and what might be the right methods to use. Helping you to do some really excellent patient and public involvement and advising and supporting in that. And alongside that, thinking about research inclusion. helping you think about what collaborators you need and potentially identifying individuals as well, advice on common pitfalls, and interpreting feedback from funding panels. And just the overall presentation and how it feels when a new pair of eyes picks up your application and starts reading it. And we're available, as we've said, to researchers based in England or those with English collaborators who work within the remit of NIHR, even if you're not actually applying to NIHR itself. And this support is free. So the kinds of things that the RSS looks at, these will all be very familiar from some of the talks that Sophie's been giving this week. Is your study in scope? Does it address the funding criteria explicitly? Are you doing what the guidance asks of you? Do you have clear lay and scientific summaries? Have you presented a need for the study, and have you shown that you have knowledge of the area? Have you shown the relevance of the study to this funder so that it's really compelling? And have you done any necessary feasibility or pilot work? Do you have clear research question, aims, and objectives? And do you have an appropriate study design? If you've got interventions in your study, are they clearly described, including usual care or your other comparator? And are all aspects of the methods presented really clearly? And do you link throughout your questions and your aims and your objectives with your methods and your analysis? And do you have adequate public involvement? Have you consulted all of the appropriate experts? So I may not go through all of these because we're running a bit out of time, and hopefully you'll be able to see them in your pack. But as you can see, there's a lot of different things that the RSS can help with and that we will be thinking about when we potentially give you a pre-submission review of your application. So the idea is we will have all of these different questions in mind ourselves, all with the aim of giving you constructive feedback to help improve your application and make it absolutely as compelling as it can be for the funder. So the way the RSS works, the key thing that you need to know is our website, which is listed here, and that is your way to request support from one of our 8 hubs or our 2 specialist centres. And we haven't said very much about our specialist centres over the last 3 days, but there are 2 of them. One of them is a specialist centre to support public health research that's taking place outside of NHS settings. And the other one is a specialist centre to support social care research. So if you're working in either of those areas, then do get in touch with our specialist centres, and they have particular experts in addition to the kind of expertise that you'd find in any of our 8 hubs. And the way that our RSSs work is that we can have one-to-one contact. So it may be that you just talk to a single advisor and that is all that you need. We may have what we call research design advisory panels, where a group of us representing lots of different disciplines will chat through your ideas, have a bit of a brainstorm, and really help you get your methods sorted out and your research questions sorted out, and hopefully send you on your way with a good variety of different advice. We can do pre-submission review, which I've just been talking about. We can also help with mock interviews if you're applying to something that requires an interview, such as a fellowship or the NIHR Eye for Eye scheme. We put on events and workshops, and we also have resources and guides. So we can help with all of those things, and we can signpost you to other support. If it's not the kind of thing we can give you, we might be able to tell you where else will. Sophie mentioned this book right at the beginning on day 1, and it is worth a look. So as she said, that a number of the ideas that we've been discussing over these 3 days have come originally from this book. So do refer to that. And this book in particular does have a series of tests for your draft application. And so that can be a good way of also assessing sort of the state of your application and whether it would be viewed as a really high quality. And the aim for us in the RSS is to get you from the picture on the left to the picture on the right. So something that's you can see glimmers of something really exciting, but it's not particularly well formed yet, to something that is this beautiful, beautiful picture. So please do come and see us and make sort of use of the services that we've got. And we would love to hear from you and hear about your exciting research ideas.